What is going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to give you my top 5 tips for new deer hunters. These are things that I've had to learn the hard way. I wish somebody would have shared them when I first got started hunting. It would have saved me a ton of time, shaved off years of the learning curve, and I would have had a lot more success up to this point. So hopefully this video helps. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, but let's jump right in. So the first tip is to find 2 people. First, find a mentor, and second, find a hunting buddy. And a mentor is super critical. It's great if you can find somebody who's really experienced, who's in your area, who will take you under their wing and teach you things along the way. But if you're not fortunate to be in that position and you can't find anybody local or in person, find a podcast, find a forum, find a YouTube channel or a Facebook group that just really resonates with you and learn from them. You shouldn't be afraid to fail and learn from your mistakes. But if you can learn from other people's mistakes and experience, you're going to speed up your development and you're going to have a lot more success a lot sooner. The next thing is to find a hunting buddy. Iron sharpens iron, so just like when you're lifting weights, you want to find somebody who's just as motivated as you are. You can push each other, you guys can be on this journey together. So that way on those days where you don't feel like getting up early in the morning, or you're debating whether you should go in that 1.5 miles on public, you guys can push each other, hold each other accountable, and develop that much quicker. I can speak firsthand to this because if it wasn't for my best friend Jacob, I probably would have quit hunting a long time ago. But we fed off of each other's ambitions, we pushed each other to work harder, cover more ground, learn quicker, and ultimately that's who I started going on these out-of-state hunting trips with that really helped me level up as a deer hunter. So if you're struggling to find somebody who's just as hungry and committed as you are, maybe try joining a Facebook hunting group for your local area, see if there's anybody you can get connected with, and maybe go out, start scouting public land together and see where things go. But if you could find somebody to partner with, it's going to be really beneficial for your development. It's going to give you a partner to go on these hunting trips with and ultimately create memories together. And that's the reason why we do this in the first place. Tip number 2 is to set realistic expectations. Unless your family owns hundreds of acres in a primo deer state, it's not going to be like what you see on TV. For me personally, I grew up hunting the big woods of northern Michigan, where if you see a single deer in a sit, it was a successful hunt. And if you saw more than one 2.5-year-old buck over the entire course of a season, it was a good season. So if I was holding out for a 150-inch buck or even a 120-inch buck, I probably would never shoot a buck in my entire life. Set attainable goals for both your skill level and for your area. For a new hunter, maybe that means targeting a 1.5-year-old buck, and once you consistently are able to do that, start passing those deer, target a 2.5-year-old buck. In addition to that, assuming you can based off of regulations and tags and all of that, I would highly encourage you to hunt does, especially starting out as a deer hunter. What that's going to do for you is give you a lot more reps in that moment of truth, give you more opportunities to figure out what you can get away with, what you can't get away with, shot placement, tracking deer, gutting deer, everything that goes along with that. So I'd highly recommend to focus on hunting does in the beginning and then make a slow, steady progression and advance yourself, advance your goals as you get better and better. Tip number 3 is to get mobile. When I first started hunting my family property, I had one ladder stand and I hunted it every single time I went out. I'd come in from the same direction, access the same exact way, didn't care what the wind was doing, and not surprisingly, I didn't see very many deer. Progression from there was to buy as many cheap tree stands when Menards would have their closeout sale at the end of the year and hang those all over the property to give me as many options as possible in an effort to not overpressure a specific area, and it also gave me some options for different wind directions. That was definitely a step up, but it took a ton of time, work, and not to mention money to hang that many stands. And what would end up happening is I would have an encounter with a buck. He would be just out of range or maybe 150 yards away. And what I would do, instead of making a move and adjusting closer to where I saw him, because it was so much work to hang all those tree stands and trim out the spots, and they were heavy, they weren't efficient, I would just go sit that same stand again in hopes that next time he would come just a little bit closer, and it ultimately never would work out. It wasn't until I took the next step and bought a lightweight tree stand and sticks, which gave me the ability to be more mobile and have the freedom to move around, make adjustments on the fly, and that's when I really started to see consistent success in the woods. It doesn't matter if it's a climber stand, a lightweight tree stand and sticks, a saddle and sticks, a ghillie suit, or just being willing to sit behind a brush pile on the ground, as long as you find a way to be flexible and make adjustments over the course of the season and be mobile. People have killed deer doing all of these, so don't get set on just one, find what works best for you. I personally run a saddle and sticks, but about half the time I end up setting up on the ground. But that's the beautiful thing about it. You can go in with a game plan in mind of where you're trying to get, but as you scout your way in, read the sign, you can make a decision what the best possible setup is for that situation, for that time of the season, and you can pivot make adjustments on the fly, and put yourself in high odds situations. The last thing I'll say about this topic is first time sits are gonna be your best odds. It doesn't matter where you're hunting, public, private, but your first time into an area, a fresh sit is gonna have your highest odds of getting it done. Tip number 4 is to pay attention to the wind. Don't rely exclusively on scent control and scent elimination products. There's a lot of gimmicks out there. People spend a ton of money on this stuff, but the fact of the matter is there's a lot of things out there that don't even help, and the majority of the time you're not going to trick a deer's nose, especially if you're targeting mature bucks. Prior to going in to hunt, I'm constantly checking the weather app. I'm looking at the wind direction and the wind speed, and that's going to determine what areas I target to hunt, how I'm going to access those areas, and where I expect the deer to bed. I still think it's wise to minimize your impact in the woods and leave behind as little scent as possible. But if you talk to anybody who consistently gets it done year in and year out in good bucks, I would venture to guess they'd say the same thing. Play the wind, and it's near impossible to control human scent, despite what all the marketing and products claim otherwise. If you're asking yourself what playing the wind means at the most basic level, it means don't let your scent blow directly to where the deer are bedded or where you think they're going to be coming from. And how you can visualize this is be dropping dried milkweed as you're accessing. Once you get up in your tree stand, I'm constantly dropping that stuff, and it's light enough where it's going to float with the wind, it's going to ride those thermals and give you a really accurate view of where exactly your scent is blowing. And what you want to do is avoid at all costs having your wind blow directly to where you think the deer are bedding, because if your wind hits them, they're going to smell you, you're not even going to see them, they're out the other way. Game over before it even begins. Same thing if your wind is blowing in the direction you think these deer are going to be coming from. More times than not, they'll leave that bedding area, they'll come that way, they'll smell you, and they're gone. So you want to avoid having these deer smell you at all costs. I'm not saying don't do the scent control, scent elimination regimens. Do that, but don't rely on it exclusively. Play the wind and give yourself as many opportunities as possible. Last but not least, tip number 5 is to get more access. Going back to my example at the beginning, I was hunting the same couple properties in northern Michigan year in and year out, and eventually I got fed up with the quality of deer and my lack of results. And this pushed me to start exploring public land options in different parts of the state that were better known for having a reputation for good bucks. There are now multiple GPS mapping apps available to us hunters. There's OnX Hunt, there's HuntWise, there's Spartan Forge, and a few others. But all in all, what that's going to allow you to do is see both public land and private land boundaries. You're going to be able to see private land ownership information, so you can try to contact those people and get permission. But then on the public land side, it's going to open up an entire world to you all across the country. You're going to be able to cyber scout it right from your phone. You're going to have satellite and topographical maps right at your disposal. And you're going to be able to check out all these areas before even stepping foot on the ground. What this is going to do for you is, instead of hunting the same property again and again and again and not having any results, now you can not have any results on a lot of properties. I'm totally kidding. But what this is actually going to do for you is give you a lot more opportunities. It's going to give you an unlimited amount of acres. So for the person that just started deer hunting, that their grandma has 15 acres and that's the only place they have permission to hunt, now you can go out there, have a lot more room to play, have a lot more different experiences. You can put yourself in different terrain types. You can travel all over the country and experience different things. And that's what's going to help you level up as a deer hunter a lot faster. That's it though. I'll leave you with one final thought. Be patient with your results, but be aggressive on your pursuit to learn. Always be curious, always be asking why. And above all, just get out there in the field and don't be afraid to screw up. I hope this video helped. If it did, please share it with your hunting buddy. I want to help as many people as possible. And if you have good tips for new deer hunters, share those down below. I want to create a running thread of all of the top hunting tips. I obviously only covered 5, so there's a lot more out there. But I want to create as much value as possible. But thank you guys for watching. Like the video, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, but I'll see you guys in the next one.